What's up, everybody? This is Passion 9. A new game was recently released on the Xbox Series X. I believe it was an exclusive, called The Medium. The Medium is the latest Silent Hill clone. It's trying to be another Silent Hill, but by everything but name. And obviously, that piqued my curiosity. Now, I haven't actually played the game, so everything I'm about to say is coming from just how shitty it looks by design. Sometimes you don't need to put your hands on the controller to know that something is awful. That's just how bad a game is sometimes. And I've scoped a good like 15 minutes of footage from this game. Took a look at it, and my very first thought when you got that first like image of the fixed camera angles that they're doing the old school fixed camera horror style. If there's anything I will say about this game, is that yeah, it gets that right. The fixed camera, that sometimes is also a tracking camera, kind of like Code Veronica, is good. They got that right. Like the gritty, like urban environment looks very much like what you would see in a Silent Hill game. So they obviously had a decent art team. But then the first thing I noticed that this game was like a problem was the screen tearing. How the hell do you get screen tearing in a game with fixed camera angles? Screen tearing. Horrible, atrocious, very noticeable screen tearing. I don't know how it's even possible. I've never seen a game with fixed camera angles or even a tracking camera that has screen tearing. Awful freaking screen tearing that completely destroys the immersion right away. And that's not even the half of it. Now, this came from Blooper Team, the same company that made that crappy Blair Witch game, that made, I believe, what was it called? What was that freaking Layers of Flesh? I think it was called. Another bad one. They're not a good game development team to start with, because they don't seem to understand how to create a good atmospheric horror game. They don't seem to understand that. This is a team that just gets an idea, and if it's a unique idea that nobody else has done, they'll just do it. They won't think about how that idea plays out in execution or what it actually does for the game. So, aside from the awful screen tearing, there's a like Witcher style tracking mode that like blurs up the screen and makes it look ugly as sin. And you just follow a trail to tell you where to go next. Even though the game, from what I saw, was super duper linear, in that, in that classic horror game sort of way, where you've got this one path and you solve puzzles or whatever. Super super linear in this opening section, and you're using a Witcher style tracking system to find out where to go. You're following little clues, and it's got that stupid thing. It's got that stupid detective vision, whatever you want to call it, that pops up. First of all, never put that shit in a survival horror game where the atmosphere is king, where the atmosphere is supposed to do the heavy lifting. You don't need a detective mode. You have eyeballs. You don't need a stupid freaking follow the footprints, follow the track. You gotta, she's gonna use her supervision or whatever. It's so freaking stupid. I know the main character's supposed to be a medium or whatever, but from a game design standpoint, this destroys the immersion. It destroys you, the player, really having to observe your environment and just look for clues in the environment. The art design is good enough that, putting aside the awful screen tearing, you don't need to blur up the fucking screen with this stupid detective mode. So I saw that and I was like, oh, they already ruined this game. They already ruined this. This had potential. I mean, even the protagonist, the girl you're playing as, looks bland as hell. She looks like the chick from Control. She looks like the character from Control. They just, like, stole her from that game and put her in this one. Just super bland, coat-wearing chick with the jacket and the pants and the red hair. I don't know. It just looks like every fucking female protagonist that's ever been in games lately. So, you got that. And then finally the game shows its biggest gimmick, its biggest novelty, which is splitting the screen up. On one side you've got the normal, like, foggy, baseline Silent Hill style world. On the other side of the screen, you have the hellish other world or whatever. And you're supposed to control this character on both sides of the screen. For what purpose? What does this do? What is a split screen with these two different worlds? What does this add to gameplay? What does this add to the atmosphere? You know, when Silent Hill did it, and you, like, your character would pass out and wake up in a room that sort of looks the same, but is somehow completely different, and it's all messed up and hellish, that was disorienting. That was good. That was creepy. That fucked with your expectations. And more importantly, kept it sort of consistent. When you split the frickin' screen and you can see the same character in the foggy world and in the hellish other world, which also looks super frickin' generic, I'm like, what does this add to the gameplay? What does this add to anything? All it's doing is revealing on one side of the screen what isn't on the other side of the screen. It's not scary, it's not atmospheric, it's jarring, not in a good way. So you have all these stupid mechanics, you have all this stuff that just ruins what could have been a great atmospheric Silent Hill clone. Could have been a good ripoff, but instead, it's just another horror game from a lesser team that doesn't understand what made Silent Hill work so well. It's not that complex. I don't get why developers have such a hard fucking time making a horror game that depends on its atmosphere. Stop with the gimmicks, stop with the novelty bullshit. Just make a good, creepy game. It's not that complicated to just set up tension and suspense when you have a good art team. What more do you need? And then to find out that Silent Hill composer Akira Yamaoka did the music, because of course he freaking did. That guy is just pretty much signing his name to anything that is even remotely Silent Hill-esque. And I'm sure it's good music. I love Akira Yamaoka's music. But damn it, he's become like... It's become like the John Williams problem of like... Yeah, great composer, even when the Star Wars movies are shit. They sure do sound good. That's what I'm feeling with this. It's like, oh, they got him to do this stupid generic game, and it doesn't deserve that score, probably. Just bring the real thing back. I want the real Silent Hill reboot, or at the very least, just something that understands what made those games work so well. Like, this game went as far as to set up fixed camera angles, which horror games haven't had in ages. I can almost respect that, but everything about it looks like shit. Everything about it ruins that conceit. So, yeah. I've never played it, but you know what? I'm never gonna. And that says enough to me. The Medium. Yeah, fuck that game. And live for the passion.